think. There we go. Now the recording has started, so we can go ahead and begin. All right, so just to give you a little bit of an overview of the program, the MS in Business Analytics and AI program is a one-year part-time program designed for full-time working professionals. And the vast majority of our students do work full-time while attending the program. So over the course of this one-year timeframe, our students will attend 6 in-person module sessions that take place at NYU Stern and in a global location. And we'll talk a little bit about what that schedule looks like on the next slide. But in between each of these in-person modules, our students will complete about 25 hours of work per week when you're not physically in class. So there will be a little bit of an off period in between each of those in-person modules when you'll complete this asynchronous work. And then at the end of the program, students will receive an MS in Business Analytics and AI. And the program is very excited to announce that that we recently have updated the name of our program. So this program historically has been the MS in Business Analytics program, and we've updated the program name this year to include MS in Business Analytics and AI. And this change is really reflective of a lot of coursework and topics that were already being included within the curriculum and coursework. So AI is something that is becoming increasingly prevalent in the business analytics space, and something that our professors really do integrate within the curriculum. So next, I'd like to talk a little bit about the schedule for the program, which you can see listed on the slide here. So this is the schedule for the class of 2026, which begins May of 2025. So as I mentioned on the previous slide, there are 6 in-person modules that students need to attend. They are all requirements for graduation, and so you do need to attend each of the 6 modules. So these modules, again, will take place at NYU Stern and a global location, which for the class of 2026 will be Abu Dhabi. So in between each of these in-person modules, again, that's where you're going to have that 20 to 25 hours of work per week. And all of that work, again, will be completed asynchronously. So even though you're not physically in class, you're still going to be engaged with the program through online readings, assignments, or deliverables that your professors assign to you. And you can see that these modules are broken out over 2 different calendar years. So some of these modules take place in 2025 and some take place in 2026. So we find that this helps our students to be able to balance the time needed to attend the program with your regular full-time job. So next, I'd like to just talk through a little bit about the admissions process, kind of what to expect moving forward from today's session. And I do also want to touch upon the admissions criteria for the MSBAi program. So in order to be eligible for this program, you do need some form of full-time professional work experience. And I did receive a couple questions on this through the registration page. So some questions asking, if I have this type of experience, am I eligible for the program? So if you do have any individual questions about your professional work experience, I do recommend reaching out to the admissions committee, and we are happy to have a conversation with you to help you figure out whether you meet the admissions criteria and whether the program is a good fit for you. In addition, as part of our admissions criteria, we do require a bachelor's degree and a strong GPA and some form of demonstrated quantitative preparedness. And this can be achieved through a few different channels, through any previous academic experience that you have, through any coursework you pursued, through your undergraduate or any graduate degrees, through any professional experience that you've acquired, and through any relevant certifications. So if you do have any programming certifications, for example, that's a great thing to add to your resume so that the admissions committee is aware. So as part of the admissions process, this is broken down into 2 steps, the informational stage and the application stage. So as part of the informational stage, that includes attending information sessions like today's webinar, or again, some of the other admissions events that the admissions committee holds. But we know, again, that you may still have some specific questions about your candidacy that you'd like to discuss. So if this is the case, after we finish today's webinar, you will have the option to schedule a one-on-one call with a member of the admissions committee. And this is a really great way to talk through any questions that you have, anything anything about your background that you have questions about, whether that makes you a good fit for the program. So in order to sign up for that call, you do need to submit your resume through the preliminary information form, which we will send around to you later today. And there will also be a link to that through the presentation itself if you do want to go ahead and get started. So once you feel comfortable about moving forward with your application to the program, you can proceed directly to the formal online application. And there are some materials that you will be asked to submit to that portal. So as part of the online application, you will need to submit your updated resume, one essay, your official transcripts in English, which need to be sent directly from the Institute of Higher Learning that you attended, one letter of recommendation, which should come from your current manager or supervisor, the photo page of your passport, the application fee, which is $103 US. And you will note that the GMAT and GRE are generally not required on the initial application. And as part of the admissions process, once the admissions committee has received a completed application, they will conduct an initial review of all of your materials. And if they feel positively about your candidacy, they will reach out to schedule a final selection interview, which is the final step in the process. So as part of our admissions process, we do accept applications on a rolling basis for this program. And I did include two deadlines here on the screen because today is actually one of our deadlines coming up. So some of you may know and may have been working on your applications already. So this is just a reminder that today, if you're kind of getting the final touches on your application, to go ahead and hit submit before the end of today. But for those of you who may be a little bit earlier on in your research, still looking into the program itself, I do want to note that we will continue to accept applications beyond today's date, November 1st, and our next deadline is coming up on January 10th, 2025. And again, we do accept applications on a rolling basis, meaning that you don't have to wait until that January deadline to hit submit on your application. So if you feel that you get that ready over the next couple of weeks, at the end of November or beginning of December, you can go ahead and hit submit and we'll begin processing your application for you whenever you are ready to do so. All right, and so with that said, we've kind of gone over a little bit about the program, so we're ready to kind of dive into our Q&A session. So now I'd like to introduce, one more slide, excuse me. So I do just want to let you know about just our contact information. So if you do have any questions at all, please feel free to reach us either by email or by phone. Our contact information is on the screen. And here's also a QR code towards the preliminary information form. So this is if you are interested in uploading your resume, having that one-on-one call with the admissions committee, you can do so using that code on the screen here. Okay, and now we're ready to kind of introduce our panel for today's session. So what I'm actually going to do is have each of our panelists actually come on and introduce themselves. So if everyone could just share your name, the year that you graduated, a little bit about your current role and your location. Perhaps we can kind of go in the order of the screen. So Jacob, if you want to go first and introduce yourself.
Sure, thanks. My name's Jacob Joseph David. I currently work at Gartner as a senior director in quantitative analytics and data science in our research group. I graduated in 2023. And my current role, I lead a small team of data scientists through the collection and analysis of data points from executives across the world and through public data sources. And then we enable our research team to write content using our analyses.
Great, thank you. John, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is John Pai. I'm also class of 2023. I'm a senior product manager currently at a company called Asset Watch, where we are there to help our customers predict maintenance with their assets. I've been a data type of product manager for a while, and this program really benefited me quite a bit. And so yeah, good to hear from you guys.
Great.
Hi everyone, I'm Kathleen Hayes. I am also class of 2023, so graduated alongside Jacob and John, and I'm based here in New York City, and I am the consulting director and head of analytics and insights for an omni-channel e-commerce company called Brooklinen. So you may have heard of their products. They sell sheets and towels and soft home goods. And in that role, I'm part of the CEO's staff and really give a lot of leadership and hands-on advisory for data engineering, data science, strategic analytics you name it, both in terms of in-house as well as third-party resources that we use to just better understand the ins and outs of Brooklinen's business and growth potential. So yeah, it's a little bit about me. And in addition to my Brooklinen role, I'm also an adjunct professor teaching data science and data engineering at 2 colleges in New York.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you again so much for joining us. So we do have 3 alumni from the class of 2023. So it is great to kind of see some of this same cohort members all together. So to start off the conversation, many of our prospective students who are dialing in naturally have various career aspirations or kind of different motivations in pursuing this degree. So I would love to hear from each of you to hear a little bit more about what it is, how this program has really impacted your career. So whoever would like to start off. John, I saw you on mute first.
Yeah.
If you want to take the lead.
So, yeah, during the program and after the program, I saw immediate impacts. Like before the program, I treated like machine learning and AI kind of like a black box. It was a little bit of a mystery to me. And then right away after the first module, I was able to like talk cohesively and in a way with my engineers, so that I noticed immediately the impact there. And afterwards, I felt a lot more confident in my understanding of like machine learning, business analytics, AI. That I was able to become a stronger leader, and as a product manager, it's all about leading a team of engineers, being able to communicate the whys and what's really in a very succinct way. So yeah, I mean, it helped me right away. So yeah.
Great, thank you.
I'll go ahead and go next. So I think this program had a pretty massive effect on my career. Specifically, I got promoted within a year after graduating, and I attribute that primarily to the program. I was able to transition the work that I had that was primarily only statistics and research based to more data engineering and ML and AI incorporation into that, which is kind of why I came into the program. I knew about it. I could talk about it a little bit, but I felt like it wasn't my place within the workforce to be able to actually execute it. Following the program, I was immediately able to start to build pipelines for ML for our business and show a lot of returns for us. And as well, one thing that I really liked was I work with a lot of junior staff who are just kind of like starting to get into the field and trying to figure out where they want to go with things, what programs they should use, what things that they should learn about. And I was easily able to transition the knowledge that I had into junior staff members and help build the product as a group that we provide and help them kind of guide their career a little bit more if they wanted to be more inclined to data analytics and especially understand ML and AI, especially as that kind of landscape changes heavily right now.
Yeah, and I think building on what Jacob just mentioned in terms of being able to like coach and guide more junior folks on some of the topics that are covered in the MSBA or MSBAi program. I've been leading data science and data engineering teams for the better part of the last decade, and I definitely felt that I had the individual contributor chops on the data engineering side of things and in some aspects of predictive analytics, but there were a lot of blind spots that I specifically had on the causal inference side. And so I was really excited about that part of the curriculum. And so that was one of the motivating factors for choosing NYU. And I think coming out of the program, or even while I was in the program, I felt much more confident and capable of being able to identify talent and continue to hire out my team. I was leading several data science teams at Google at that time. And so I think what I was learning in the different sessions and modules that we had, I was able to immediately apply to the types of projects and just like widening the toolkit that my data science managers and individual data scientists were actually able to use and use confidently, like on the job. So that turnaround time of learning to applying was really, really quick. And I think that manifested in a couple of different ways in terms of being able to just improve and increase the level of impact that my teams have been able to have. And then moving on to new jobs, I think it's just another signal and data point of credibility that helps get you into interview settings, but also is just another mark on your resume. I think that helps you just have that credibility entering the door and joining a new environment and a new team.
And so in thinking about we talked a little bit about kind of what you've done a little bit after the program. I would love to hear, going back to maybe before you guys started the program, as you were thinking about applying to a program like the MS in Business Analytics and AI program, what was it that brought you to the program, and kind of what did appeal to you about the program at that point?
I'll jump in first for this one. I think as I was assessing a couple of different programs, and I went through the application process for, I would say, like 3 to 5 different programs. So definitely encourage everybody to like do their research. I think when I was making my final decisions, one of the things that really jumped out to me for NYU was the combination of coming in person as well as having online learning. And it wasn't just like one immersion, like week or 2 weeks. It was something where we came together as a cohort 5 to 6 times. And so I think that was a really big appeal for me, or appealing factor for me. I'm also based in New York, so I enjoy like being here and being close to NYU, both as a current student, but also as an alumna afterwards. And then I do like the fact that there is just such an international mix or multinational mix of students. And I feel like the cohort size that we had, which was around 50 people, was a really good sweet spot of being able to know everybody in the class, but be able to also have like deeper friendships and relationships with like subsets of the class, whether it's in your capstone group or working group projects. So I think it was that sweet spot of like, what's the size, what's the actual mix of modalities for like the classes, as well as some of the causal inference parts of the curriculum that I mentioned in my prior answer.
I could go next. So yeah, everything Kathleen said applies to me as well. It's the size, the length of program. I've also done my research, and there was other programs I was considering. But well, first of all, I have a twin brother that participated in this program. Well, also is also an alum. My twin brother that started in 2018. When I got into the program, he said, yeah, there's no other program you should consider at that time. But yeah, there's other programs that are out there. They have a lot of them have like longer spans, and I mean, like from intake to graduation, it takes a lot longer. And this program is just unique in some ways, because first we meet at least 5 or 6 times in New York. I'm based in Seattle, and we get to really learn from each other when we're together. And even in between the program, we're always constantly communicating. And I've found that the cohort just was so like instrumental in building up this tool set that I have. So it was after doing a lot of research, I felt it was a really easy decision for me. I know there's a lot of other programs that are out there that are less pricey and all that kind of stuff, but the combination of like the time, the impact I can make, the cohort, the rockstar professors out there. Yeah, it was just it was really easy for me.
So I think everybody kind of hit the nail on the head with what they were saying. When I was looking at programs, of course, I did the research as well. And I found that when I talked to other alumni, that looking at their career trajectories, there seemed to be an inflection after the program, which I really liked. I also kind of felt like I knew this space enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be effective and to be kind of a leader within my group. And I thought that the curriculum was more geared towards progression in a career and less about kind of understanding the fundamentals. I think one thing I liked tremendously is that there had to be some career that you've already had previously. So knowing that you were coming in with people with different experiences, some people were looking to transition, some people were looking to lead and just understand the landscape and help their teams. And I think that benefited greatly. We had people who were in the C-suite. We had people who were, executives at large or directors at large companies. And that was something I was really looking for. I spoke with a few people who were in the MBA programs at Stern as well. And I understood that what came with NYU was a network. And that was a major driving factor. And then finally, just the ability to travel was really cool and unique. And I wanted to do that as an avid traveler. Having an experience outside of school during this was something that I wasn't going to get at the other programs I was looking at.
Can I add that the format of this program was also a huge factor because, yeah, of course, we meet at least 5 or 6 times at New York. I mean, in New York and other places, but yeah, there's really no other program that stands out like in a way that where we could get where we not only have fun but have fun learning together. So yeah.
And I think all of you kind of touched on the kind of leading into my next question, actually, you all touched on that cohort dynamic and really what that was like being able to attend class. And the way that this program is structured, you are attending class with the same group of students in the same room together throughout that whole year. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about what that was like for you, especially kind of given that there are a lot of students coming into this program from different types of industries and with different types of professional backgrounds. So some have a little bit more technical experience, some are a little bit more familiar with the strategy side of business analytics. So what was that experience like for you guys?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I come from a background where I was a software developer, software engineer at Amazon, and I transitioned into product management, and there's a lot of things that the program covered that kind of scratched my hunger for the knowledge in AI over here. And it's not just what's brought in from the class materials, but learning from the cohort. I felt like I've learned just as much from our discussions and working together in the projects and the capstone that allowed us. I felt allowed me to grow quite a bit. So.
I thoroughly enjoyed the interactions with the cohort. I think one thing that was unique from my experiences previously, any education that I had was essentially going to school with people who look like me and going into this experience and getting a lot of cultural diversity, people working at companies in different countries and learning about like what data analytics looks like there and career trajectory there. I mean, that was just outside of being helpful, and it was really cool to meet all those people and to understand, where they were coming from. I also thought it was there's a lot of touch points with everybody within the program while you're learning, and so you were able to get a lot of frequency with different people and get a lot of experience and understanding about problems that you might not solve that way. Sorry, I have somebody at my door, so I gotta go get that.
No problem. We'll pass it to Kathleen.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll fill in while Jacob goes to the door. I mean, I want to echo a lot of what both John and Jacob have said. I think that it was something that I kind of assumed that the people in the network would be great coming in, but it's something that I think I underestimated as I was assessing what program to do for my master's degree. And like, in short, the people were and are amazing. I can still remember like the first day of class, I sat down in my seat and like to the left of me was somebody from Brazil who is part of the C-suite, and to the right of me was somebody working in analytics for a healthcare company, which are very, very different than the largely tech background that I had. So I think even from the very first moment, it's been like super refreshing to just have that diversity of experiences, backgrounds, career goals, but still have that cohesive, singular focus and appreciation for the space of analytics and AI that kind of like forms that bond between everybody. But whether it is things in school or doing a fantasy football league or going on trips together or whatnot, like I've also exited this program not only with a professional network, but also with like really close friends that I see on a regular basis. So it's been great.
Yeah, I want to also echo that because like yeah, I was you know, we the friendship that have been built along this program was superb. It was not only I've learned before, but I continue to learn from my friends after the program. We're still talking fantasy football, which I won last year, but but yeah, it's been great. I would also want to add that my brother, who's in the 2018 cohort, also echoed the same thing. So that's what helped drive my decision as well.
And that's amazing that you guys have kind of been able to, maintain these personal connections even beyond the program. That's really great to hear. So and John, I think you touched upon it earlier when you were talking about what brought you to the program. You highlighted the structure of the program as well. And so as we kind of went over at the beginning of the presentation, this program, there is some in-person, there is an in-person component to this program, but there is also some outside work that does have to be completed kind of in that in-between time when you're managing your full-time job and kind of managing those deliverables and those readings to get ready for the next module. So for all of you, how was that? What was that experience like, kind of balancing your regular full-time job with kind of the needs and the deliverables of the program?
Well, I would say it started out, I mean, it's definitely challenging. You know, as a product manager, I'm constantly in meetings. I always tell my wife that I'm a professional meeting attender, and that's like 40 hours a week. And just adding this, it was hard. And on top of that, I have children. I have not only my twins, but I have twins as well, my kids, and they take a lot of my time. But overall, I felt like, you know, the engagement, the people help kind of like fuels me. I mean, the engagement with the team, the people that I'm working with fuels the excitement for the program. And every time we get into this module, I feel like I kind of had additional fuel to kind of push further and further, and that momentum keeps on going. And that's why we see like the entire cohort like just like go. I mean, you see the cohort like pushing through, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go through this as well. So yeah.
I think tactically, sorry, Jacob, I unmuted faster. I think tactically, just getting back into the mindset of like being in school again, even if it was a slightly different flavor, was definitely an adjustment. And I think, especially for the first module, which I think is now spread across 2 modules, I had a spreadsheet. I had like a plan of like, what are the assignments I needed to do by what day. I had several other people in the cohort make fun of me for my spreadsheet, but then later ask for a copy of the spreadsheet. So I think just like being organized and aware of like what's coming up was really, really helpful for me to just balance a demanding full-time job and other responsibilities outside of work and outside of the program. So I think it's just like making sure that you're aware of what's going on, figure out what system works for you for that balance, and like also lean on the people around you. As John mentioned, like we're all kind of going through this together. And so if you're struggling or you're feeling like something's really tough, you're probably not the only person struggling or feeling like it's tough. So also not being afraid to like ask for help, I think goes a long way too, which is helping navigate all of the different modules and aspects of the program.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially asking for help. I may not be the best person to answer this question. I'm a fairly large procrastinator, but the amount of touch points, the amount of group work that you do, like not only the professors will put you in group for, work in between modules, but also you'll immediately be a part of your capstone. So you almost have two groups to help work on things. And just at least our cohort was in constant communication during modules, after modules. And so you were almost always reminded about work, and people were asking questions within our group chat of the entire cohort. So just building and keeping those relationships was essentially how I got through both work and classes, making sure I had those 2 or 3 people that, oh, hey, have you done this assignment? I'm stuck here. Hey, I don't really understand this, or how much work is this? Do I need a week, or do I need, a few hours to get through it? And relying on friends was, I think, my biggest benefit there.
And Jacob, you brought up the Capstone project. So I would like to kind of switch gears and touch on that a little bit. So, and something that we haven't talked about so far, but for everyone dialing in, there is a Capstone project that is associated with this program. And it is something that our students work on throughout the duration of the entire one-year program. And it's a team-based project. So students have the opportunity to develop a team, pick their own project topic, and kind of meet those deliverables along the way. And then in the final module of the program, students will present their final capstone projects to the capstone board. So from each of you, I would love to hear if you're comfortable sharing a little bit about maybe what your project topic was like, and just anything else if you want to share about that experience too.
Okay, I'll go first again. Sorry. So yeah, our capstone team was, we worked with an e-commerce group in a company. It's in India, and it was founded by one of our capstone member's brother. And it was a unicorn, and so we were really excited to be working with such a company in India, so well known and everything. And they basically proposed like an idea for analysis, and we acted like consultants throughout the entire year with them. We did some analysis. And then we performed our building out pipelines. We build out models, train our models, and deploy them and everything, and build out dashboards. So yeah, throughout the entire experience, it was challenging, I would say. But yeah, overall, it's also hard because we're learning along the way. At the same time, we're learning the material in class. So, so learning, it was, like I said, learning wasn't just the material that was that we learned in class. It's from the cohort and from, like the capstone project that we're discovering along the way. So there's a lot of areas where we're pushing the limits of our knowledge. So
we worked with a Colombian swimwear brand, and we kind of were just given all of their data, which was, I think, the biggest part that was beneficial was working with an actual company with real data, with real problems. And so they just gave us all their consumer data and asked if we could help them. So one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was trying to kind of like find the most accessible problem that will have the most benefit for them, instead of doing the coolest thing possible with all the knowledge that we had. Because I wanted to walk away from it saying, we worked with a company and we did something and they took action and they're seeing benefits from it. And so through that experience, we were able to work on, their email campaigns, give them actual A/B testing, show real causal inference engagement within their email base. And they took that kind of model that we had and built it into a real plan, because previously they were just like sending emails and hoping they worked. Instead of thinking of it analytically, into this day, they're continuing through that plan of measuring their success within their email platform. And it was also really enlightening because I work not as a consultant, and I don't know what it's like to work with a company's data set, to like feel the challenges of getting good data and getting in contact with executives. And even though they have buy-in, not getting exactly what you wanted, and kind of working through that process gave me an idea of what sector I want to go into after this. Do I want to continue to do that? And some real practical experience to say, if I wanted to go work at a consumer side analytics firm, I've done this, I've helped people, and this is how we measured it, and actually showed success within that organization and presented it to executives to show that it was beneficial.
Cool. And to round us out with my Capstone experience, I think similar to both Jacob and John, I also worked with actual companies who got to work with real data sets. I think of the like 10 Capstone groups that we had in our cohort, I think it was around a 50-50 split of groups that worked with existing companies versus groups that collected their own data and like fully generated their Capstone idea end to end. It was something that I really, similar to what Jacob mentioned, I wanted to tie the Capstone experience to something that could be reflected with impact with an actual company. And so one of my former managers is the CEO of a small wellness subscription app company. And so I got in touch with her and got us set up, got our team set up to partner and consult with them. So really, it's very similar on the causal inference side to Jacob's team. We also helped improve their email marketing programs through A/B testing. Also did some predictive time series forecasting to just understand what their growth trajectory looks like, and factored in different types of activations that they could do on the product and marketing side, and how that would actually influence their growth rates and growth trajectory. I think one thing that I will call out around the Capstone group that I really enjoyed was that there was enough to do for a startup that did not have an in-house analytics team, that it was really focusing on like, what should we prioritize and what should we work on, and not trying to do everything possible that we were learning in class. And because we had a group size of 5, each one of us could actually be like the lead on one effort, whether it was on the causal inference side or data engineering side or predictive analytics side. And then we sort of pair programmed everything. So everybody was a primary on one project aspect, and then like a secondary lead, just so that you got more exposure to different parts while still having a high level of ownership. One thing that I will call out, just for anybody who does apply to the program, does get in, does accept, does join an upcoming cohort, is if you do become a Capstone team lead, that's something else to just factor into balancing your time, because it is a slightly higher level of effort of just being responsible and leading the overall team, and having more interactions with your faculty advisor and with the program advisors. So that's just like one thing that I'll call out, that I think there's a lot of upside to that, but it is also incremental time that is spent on the Capstone.
Thank you all for sharing that. It's definitely a lot of work goes into the Capstone project, so it's always very cool to see kind of how those develop over the course of the year, and how that leads into that final presentation. So I do want to make sure that we allow some time to kind of get to some questions from the audience today. But before we get to that, one last question that I have for you guys is, what is kind of, for everyone dialing in and maybe considering the MS in Business Analytics and AI program, what is one piece of advice that you would give to prospective applicants?
I would say this program is what you make of it. I think you can easily go through this and get done and say, I don't think I, learned as much as I could have, but they give you the tools to go out there and understand the world of analytics. And if you want to be an AI or ML expert at the end of it, it's up to you to do that. They will guide you through that process. And I think that allows you to kind of pick and choose the world that you want to come out of. I've known people who wanted to come out as a Python expert, and so they focused the entire time as learning Python, and they got a job in that. Some people want to learn about other aspects. So compared to maybe something that's directly about programming, there's a wide world out there, and it's up to you to really make this as fruitful as possible for yourself.
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to ask questions, really invest in the program, not just like the classes themselves, but also like the people aspect, I think is, like Jacob said, like what you make of it. And so I think there was like a wide variety of motivations for why people were in the program. And I think that was reflected in how everybody approached the program, beginning, middle, end, and even afterwards. So there is some level of flexibility in terms of like what you make of it, but I do think what you put in is going to very closely like correlate with what you get out of it. And for me, there were specific areas of the curriculum or certain people's backgrounds that I just made sure I paid closer attention to and really leaned into, because I could see the benefit that it would get for my career, and then also offering the same in return.
Yeah, for me, I think some advice would just be to embrace the challenge of the program. It was challenging. I learned a lot, and just like Jacob said, whatever you put in, you get more out. So it was a value-added program for me, and the value of the network is huge. The teams the teams that were built, the teams that we went through, and the whole learning environment was like a huge benefit for me. Even after the program, we're always like my Capstone group, we're still talking and still learning from each other. Yeah, the fun. It was great fun throughout the entire program. It was very memorable. It was life-changing memories. So yeah, I mean, we traveled together. We were in Abu Dhabi, we were in London, just like had so much fun. We even traveled to Paris together. So yeah, that was great stuff.
Well, thank you guys kind of for answering those questions for me, and great advice definitely for everyone dialing in. I do want to encourage everyone. So at this point, we will dive into some Q&A from questions from the audience. So a couple of questions have come in, but please feel free to keep those coming, and we can start fielding some questions to our panelists. John, I did see that you actually answered one of the questions from our panelists, but I am actually going to take this, I think, to everyone because I think it's a great question. So one question that came through was, did you feel that you needed to have a background in data science and Python and R to do well in the program? And for some context, just from the admissions committee as well. So generally, we do recommend coming into the program with that foundational knowledge of Python and R, kind of just given that there are some more technical courses within the first couple modules of the program. So I guess panelists, how did you feel kind of, maybe if you could provide some information on what maybe your experience with that was and how that went for you in the program?
Well, I was a software developer for a while, but I had zero experience with Python. Well, actually, I wouldn't say zero, but R for sure. I didn't, but Python. But it was relatively easy for me to kind of just pick up Python because it's tons easier than, say, understanding pointers in C++. But yeah, I mean, it did take a little bit of time, but I've also seen like other members of the team struggle a little bit, but overall I felt like, yeah, there's people here to help out, and the cohorts there to help you learn as well. Yeah, it was great.
I came in with a pretty strong R background, and it helped for sure. Python I had never coded in. So I think having a basic understanding of how languages works is probably enough to help you kind of get into the flow of things. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to. We did all of this program without ChatGPT. And the world of coding is completely different now. So I never coded in Python before. I struggled with it in the cohort. I was able to like complete it, but I didn't feel comfortable. And now I only code in Python because ChatGPT helps me. And so like, even if you don't have that foundational knowledge and you don't have a ton of experience, like there are so many more resources that allow you to learn how to code. And I do not expect that many people would walk out of this program and say like, I'm never going to use ChatGPT in my workflow. So like, let's not use it during school. Like it's going to be a part of analytics forever. And so I think it's an opportunity to learn side by side and get that experience.
Yeah, I echo that. I think contrary to what Jacob mentioned with his experience using R coming into the program, I definitely was more like Team Python coming into the program. And so was learning R from scratch, but had been using Python for more data engineering use cases, but in some limited data science use cases as well. The team that I was leading at Google, half of them used R, half of them used Python for their everyday work. So I think that the combination of more Python courses as well as like a lot of R courses in this program really helped me just be able to more seamlessly support and lead my teams with the tools that they were best equipped and comfortable to use. And plus one with using generative AI to sort of short circuit and accelerate your programming abilities. It's something that in my current role with Brooklyn, and I had several folks on the team who want to learn Python, and whether it's using a notebook solution that has Python, like generative AI tied to writing Python code built within the notebook itself, or ChatGPT as a standalone tool. I think it's really exciting to be working in data and analytics and using that as an additional booster to just get work done faster and like have that learning curve accelerated.
And I did get, so I have actually gotten a couple of questions through the chat too, a little bit more admissions related. So did just want to run through those too. So actually one question that did come through too is what is the typical age range of students in this program? So typically on average, so as part of our admissions criteria, as you know, there is some professional work experience is required as part of the admissions criteria. And so the average years of professional work experience that's present in the classroom is around 9 to 10 years. But you can kind of picture this on a bell curve. So there definitely are students in the classroom who will fall closer to the more junior side and do have less years of professional experience. And some students will have maybe 10 or 15 years of professional experience. So there can be a bit of a mix year to year. It does, I would say that it definitely does vary, but generally I'd say that's kind of the average of that we typically see. I also received a question just clarifying what the date of the next application deadline after November 1st. So did just want to share again that is January 10th, 2025. And a couple questions that I did get come through just regarding is it how late can I apply to the program? Is it better to apply sooner? So did just want to reiterate that again, that yes, absolutely it is. I would generally recommend applying sooner in the cycle rather than later, kind of getting closer to that May 2025 start date, because we do fill the class on a rolling basis. So the cycle does become more competitive as we get closer to that start date. But yes, please feel free if you do have any more questions, admissions, or for the panelists as well, please feel free to keep those coming. Another question for the panelists that came through is, what would you say the advantages of a program like this rather than a data science or a coding boot camp?
I think it really
a lot of the, sorry, go ahead.
I'm jumping in before you this time, John. I think a lot of it does come down to like what you're really focused on and what you're optimizing for and what you want to get out of the program. And so I think in certain use cases, if that's what you are primarily optimizing for, is just doing programming and just having like the technical aspects covered from like top to bottom, including the fundamentals, including sort of the technical theory behind it, I don't know if I would even recommend this program, which maybe this is another thing you're not supposed to say on a panel like this, is like, don't come here. But I think if you want to have a like holistic, broad, both how do you apply this in a practical sense, in addition to the technical inner workings of a lot of the different methodologies that are out there, I think this program does hit like the sweet spot of not skewing like too far toward one end or the other of the spectrum of only being technical courses or just being like so high level that it's not useful at all. I think it strikes like the right balance. But I think that when I was looking at programs, there were some that skewed like very heavily on the technical side. And I think just for me, that wasn't 100% what I was looking for. And I thought that the curriculum here covered enough on the technical side that I was going to get that and other things versus just one or the other.
I want to mention like a lot of other programs, you know, they tell you, hey, there's the predictive element, there's the descriptive element, and prescriptive element. But very few programs are like this one where we also include the fourth pillar, which is the causal inference. And so this was a unique program in that sense. Again, and then the cohort experience, the global perspective, and the capstone really helped you learn. So if you want to get something, I mean, if you really want to get something out of the value that you get from the tuition that you pay, I think it's definitely worth it for us. So.
And just to add on to what everybody said, because I think both of them have really powerful points that I would reiterate, but the professors that teach the classes are incredible resources. One of the professors built the algorithm for Redfin, and one of the professors was an economist in the Obama administration. You know, all of these professors, I felt strongly that if I had a question now in my everyday life at work, I could reach out to and ask them. And they were really open and really approachable throughout the program. Something that you wouldn't get in a boot camp is access to something like that. Plus the ability to audit classes within the MBA program or within Stern, also something that's pretty amazing, especially with how great the MBA program itself is. So I think Kathleen's right. If you want to just learn to code, or if you just want to learn statistics, or you just want to learn AI, a bootcamp is probably right. But there's a lot of other aspects that are really valuable.
Yeah, I want to add that I'm still in contact with like my my capstone advisor, even though he's in Canada and everything. And I mean, I just had a conversation with him like just about 2 or 3 months ago. Professor Ghost was just in Seattle. I met up with him just a couple weeks ago. So that was, I mean, they're very approachable, and we're still talking, and it's a lifelong friendship. So it's not just like it stops after the program.
Thank you guys all for sharing that. I do want to see if we'll see how many questions we can get through. I had one more come through. Did the program help you better prepare how did you apply data-driven strategies within your specific industry? Is the question.
I can jump in. I think the program helped me immediately be able to start to pull in public data, which we primarily work with just like primary sources, interviews, surveys with executives. So being able to build data engineering pipelines and then transition that into ML was something that like I previously would have never been able to do. I mean, I would have probably lied to my boss and said maybe, and then watched a bunch of YouTube videos and then told them it wasn't possible. but that was huge. And then also hearing problems within our group that were outside of kind of my day-to-day work. For example, understanding search terms of executives on our website. I was able to immediately jump in and say like, hey, we can classify these using classification model and then cluster results, you know, as we go more granular. And that's been implemented for the last year and a half as something that I've like taken on and, you know, gets up to the CEO of the company now as a model. And that kind of that data-driven strategy wouldn't have been something that I would have been able to do previously.
I think the short answer to the question is like, yes, I've been able to apply it in like one example. While I was in the program, my team at Google was kind of faced with this ambiguous challenge where we couldn't use A/B testing because we were trying to understand the impact or potential cannibalization between two different product features, but they had both already been like launched and shipped. And one of the methods that we learned in our causal inference class was propensity score matching. And so it was something that I was able to turn around very quickly, introduce to the team, and we actually used for a pretty important project that kind of helped Google search figure out where they should put more resources or fewer resources going forward. So that was just like one sample size of one, but there was, like I mentioned earlier in this panel, very quick turnaround of being able to like learn something and then very quickly applying it or trying it out or seeing where we could like use it on my team at the time.
Yeah, and I feel like I want to mention that it helped me like also dig deeper and ask the right questions because of my understanding. Now I could get to the second layer or third layer of like the analytics that was shown. You know, I've now that I've been able to, I've seen it. There's like all from the experiences and everything, we were able to like with the even real world application. It's just like the confidence and everything, and it just made me a stronger leader and a better data-driven leader. I know how to use the data much better.
All right. Well, thank you all for kind of coming into the webinar today and sharing your experiences. We are almost at time, so I do want to just go ahead and wrap up. And again, just talk about some next steps in the admissions process. So again, just to kind of recap, moving forward from here, you can either continue to learn more about the program by reaching out to the admissions committee, setting up a one-on-one informational call if you do have some questions about your individual candidacy, or you can proceed directly to the online application. And we will share some follow-up information with you all after today's session. If you do have any questions at all as you're moving forward through the process, you can always reach us at msbai@stern.nyu.edu. Again, I just want to thank our panelists for tuning in today, for sharing your stories. I hope that all of you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
Thank you.
Thanks.